This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, good morning, good evening. Welcome to Isha Training Solutions. So we will give a couple of minutes for others to join and then we will start our session. Okay, we will give a couple of minutes for others to join and then we'll start the session. Once again, welcome everyone. Welcome to Isha Training Solutions. So in our previous session, we started off with JMeter installation path and then home, Java home path, how we are doing those configuration like that we discussed, and then I also explained about how to start your JMeter in different ways. You can use jar, you can use batch file, you can use command prompt, like that different ways in which we can start or we can launch the JMeter, like that we discussed this. Okay, so now we will use next topic like JMeter HTTP proxy server configuration. Okay, so what will I do? I'll quickly go and start JMeter. Okay, so maybe I'll explain like this so that you guys will understand. So say like your browser is here, okay, and your application server is here. Okay, your application server is here. And when we are doing any communication, a request is actually triggered. The request is actually triggered to your browser, and your response is actually coming back from server, and it is reaching to your browser. Okay, so this is what, when we are doing manually, this is what is actually happening. Okay, when we are doing manually, this is what is actually happening. Okay, so using JMeter, this performance testing tool, how this actual activity, JMeter recording activity, how it is actually happening. Okay, if somebody is asking this question, you can say like JMeter is actually going to act like a proxy server, acts like a proxy server. Okay, so Apache JMeter, okay, and it is acts like a proxy server, proxy. Okay, so what is happening? You are giving one particular port in your browser. Example 8056 or 8058 or 8090, whatever. You are giving a particular port in your browser, and you are configuring the same port in your tool as well. Okay, So once you are clicking the start button in JMeter, what is happening? Your JMeter is becoming like a proxy server. In this port only internet will work. 8056. In this port only, I would not say internet, in this port only communication will work. Okay, because we are making a port between your browser and your tool, so that the communication is actually happening between these two. Say like you are changing the port in your browser. You are changing the port in your browser. Actually, internet should not work. Internet should not work unless and until you are starting the proxy server. Unless and until you are starting the proxy server. So that you have to make sure. Okay, I'll repeat again. You are changing the port in your browser and you are changing the port in your tool, and both are communicating in that particular port. If you are not starting your JMeter as a proxy server, individually the browser should throw an error because there is no internet available. Unless and until proxy server is actually starting, that time only a communication will be happening. Okay, that is one logic. Say like you started the recording button. You started the recording button and the request is actually going from your browser. The request is actually going from your browser. What your tool is actually doing, it is taking the copy of the request. It is taking the copy of the request and it is sending the request. It is sending the request. So server will process the request and it is actually giving the response. It is giving the response. So what your tool again is actually doing, it is taking the copy of the response. Copy of the response and it is giving back the response. It is giving back the response. So this is how your recording is actually working in JMeter. Whenever you are trying to do any recording, script recording, this is how it is actually working. So post recording, what is actually happening? Post recording, your tool is not at all using this entire layer. Your tool is not at all using this entire layer. This layer is not used by your tool. Your tool is having a copy of the request, so the tool is giving that request to the server and you are getting the response. Okay, this response is actually called as what? Replay response. Replay response. So what is actually happening? It is checking your recorded response and it is checking your replay response. Based on that, it is saying your script is pass or your script is fail. The script is pass or your script is fail based on the response. Okay, so I told you in the initial class itself, there is a concept called config element. Okay, in JMeter there is a concept called config element, which is that maybe you can say like cookie manager, cache manager, header manager, authorization manager, like that. There are components are there in JMeter. Why? Because you are not at all using this layer. You are not at all using this layer. So because of that, what is actually happening? The browser flavor is actually missing. The browser flavor is actually missing. So that browser flavor, I mean, the browser activities that you are bringing into JMeter using the config element option, because actually browser layer is actually missing. Okay, so you are bringing the flavor of the browser using a concept of config element, HTTP, cookie manager, cache manager, authorization manager, header manager, like that. You are bringing the browser flavor. Okay, I'll take a pause here. Any question, guys, still now? Yeah. So why I'm explaining this? Because definitely they will ask question related to this. They'll try to see like how good you are with the conceptual understanding. So now we have a clarity how this JMeter tool is actually working, how the data is actually captured, how the replay is actually happening, how the validation is actually happening. There is a layer missing, there is a browser layer missing. How we are going to compensate that? All these are, with this picture you can understand it. With this picture you can understand. Okay, say like right now I'm going to explain. Say like I told you, right, there is a port that you are going to configure, there is a port that you are going to configure, like that I told you, right? So first of all as a prerequisite, what are all the things you have to do? Okay, right click. Okay, so test plan is a place where entire activity is going to happen. All your performance testing activity, you are going to do it under the test plan. Test plan is a place where entire activity you are going to perform. Right click. If you mouse over it under the add, look at here, what are all the options are there? Thread, config element, listener, timer, preprocessor, post processor, like that. There are options are there. Okay, so definitely under the test plan, two things has to come. Under the test plan, two things has to come. What is that? First one is thread group. First one is thread group. Okay, don't worry, there is a separate topic available for the explanation of this thread group. Right now I'm going to only explain the skeleton. Next session only we are going to see in detail about the thread groups concepts. Okay, so thread group, under the test plan I added this thread group. What is thread group? I already told you. Thread group is nothing but is a place where you are configuring your scenario, load testing scenario. Okay, maybe like you are doing with so and so user, so and so iteration, so and so duration, with the so and so ramp up period. All those things are happening under thread group. All those things are happening under thread group. Thread group is a place you are doing all your scenario configuration. What you are going to do? You are going to load test, you are going to do stress test, you are going to do volume test, you are going to do scalability test, you are going to do endurance test. All the things that are going to be done here in this thread group level only. Okay, maybe before to that, definitely I need to explain you guys the type of testing. Okay, load test, stress test, endurance test, scalability test, volume test. Okay, load, stress, endurance, scalability, volume. There are places, very corner to corner places, failover test they will do, failover, but not exactly everybody is doing. Maybe during the interviews they are asking this question. That's the reason I added this. Okay, so in this team, in this forum, definitely there will be one or two professionals will be there. Can anybody say what is load test? You guys aware of it? You can say, or else anyways I'm going to explain. Anybody already aware like what is load test?
Yeah, number of users, continuously hitting the site.
Okay. Okay.
It's an peak load test.
No, that is a different definition. Peak load. Load testing means what we usually do.
To add more number of users, for example, during certain period of sale, when people hit lot of user hit at the site and load, how much load it will take.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So in a nutshell, when somebody is asking what is load test, like that in future, I'm saying in interviews or anywhere, if somebody is asking, you can say like this. Okay, test the application with the expected user load. Expected, I mean in production there are expected user load. 500 users are expected to come 1,000 users are expected to come. Like that, there are count will be there. That count you are going to simulate it in the test environment. That is actually called as load test. Load test means testing the application with the expected user load. So testing the application with the expected user load. Okay. So there are two ways, right? One is your application is a new application, or your application is an existing application. If the existing application means what? It is already there in production. It is used by the end user. Okay. There are two applications. One is new application. Okay. New application, or existing application. Existing application. So this question also people will definitely ask. New application means what will you do? Existing application means what will you do? Okay, definitely, because these are a little tricky questions to understand. You have a good experience, or you are a theoretical understanding. Okay, there are people who will only read in online websites and then they'll go for interviews, right? So those kind of a people can be easily identified using this kind of a question. So the last, like, how will you do your load test if it is a new application, if it is a existing application? Existing application means from the production log, we can identify the end user load. Okay, we can identify the load condition. Okay, we can identify the load condition. I mean, how many users are currently used by the application. So through that you are going to get the user count. So with that you can either simulate the same condition, or 10% of the increased condition you can check it. That is actually your existing application. Means you are going to get the data from the production log and then you are going to do it. That is what existing application. Okay. New application means what? New application, there will not be any log, because now only you are doing the development. How come you are going to understand that? Means, okay, what you have to show, what you have to say, we will discuss with the stakeholder. Okay, stakeholder or developer or business analyst, and assume the number. You will assume the expected user load. So this is the answer. I mean, if they are asking a tricky question, what you have to say, we will discuss with the stakeholders, developer, business analyst, and we will assume the expected user. Assumption, that is actually important word. Okay, assumption. We will assume the expected user load condition. We will assume expected user load condition. We will assume. Okay. So that way you are going to do your load testing. So load testing means testing the application with the expected user load. If it is an existing application, we'll get the log from the production. If it is a new application, we are going to do the assumption. I'll take a pause here. Any question guys still now? Anybody have any question? So the next type, stress testing. Stress testing means checking the application breakpoint. Okay, I mean, at what condition your application is actually going to break. That is actually called a stress testing. Okay, so actually this load test I told you, right? Usually in industry, load testing duration is actually 1 hour. Load testing duration is actually 1 hour. Always load testing duration 1 hour. Very rarely only people are doing 2 hours and all, but 90 to 95% of the people doing the load testing with 1 hour only. Okay, duration is actually 1 hour. Expected user load, that is actually your concurrent users. Concurrent user is actually expected user load. User load in production. Expected user load in production. Okay, duration always 1 hour. Concurrent users is actually expected user load in production. Okay. Similarly, here in stress testing also, duration is 1 hour only. Duration is 1 hour only. Concurrent users, what we will do? Concurrent users, what we will do? First, we will test with the X user, and then we will test it with the 2X user, and then we will test it with the 3X user. Okay, actually saying you have to go till the breakpoint. You have to go till the breakpoint, but nowadays nobody is actually breaking the system. Nobody is actually breaking the system. What everybody doing, they are testing the application with the X, 2X, 3X, and they are stopping the testing. They are stopping the testing. So stress testing means by definition it is actually checking the breaking point of the system, but you are giving a option like X user, 2X user, 3X user, like that you are completing the test. So that is actually your stress testing. Okay, checking the application breakpoint, checking the application breakpoint. Okay, endurance testing. Endurance testing, or the other name is actually soak test. So sometimes in interview, in order to confuse you, they'll ask like what is soak test? Okay, what is soak test or endurance test? What we are going to do it? Why we are performing this endurance testing? Okay, testing the application. Testing the application for a longer period of time. Testing the application for a longer period of time to check the memory leak. To check the memory leak. Okay. So you are testing the application for a longer period of time to check the memory leak. To check the memory leak. Okay. You wanted to check your application is actually working fine. You are going to use this option. You are going to use this option. Okay, so what is the duration of this test? Duration in industry, because of the timeline pressure nowadays, because we are working in agile model, we are working in DevOps model. Because of that, we are not finding much of a time. Actually saying, okay, we are not finding much of a time. So what we are doing nowadays, we are only testing it for 4 hours only. But actually, traditionally, if you see, people used to test it for 8 hours, 16 hours, 24 hours, like that people used to test those days. But nowadays everybody is testing for only 4 hours only, because of the timeline pressure. Okay, concurrent user is actually your load test user only. Concurrent user is actually your load test user only. Okay, the expected user load only people are doing the test. Okay, testing the application for a longer period of time to check the memory leak. Okay, next type is actually scalability test. Okay, scalability test means what? If somebody is asking what is scalability test, scalability test means testing the future load, with the current infrastructure. Testing the future load with the current infrastructure. I mean, you have say like 32 GB RAM now. With that 32 GB RAM, my next year load, I mean my next year load may be anything. Okay, this year my users are 500 means next year maybe 5,000 means my next year load will be working in the current infrastructure or what? Will be working in the current infrastructure or what? That you are going to check it in the scalability test. Testing the future load with the current infrastructure. Testing the future load with the current infrastructure. Okay. So that is actually duration. Duration is actually 1 hour only. Concurrent user is actually the future load. What is the future load, right? That load condition you are going to test. That load condition you are going to test your application. Okay. Volume testing means what? Volume testing. Volume testing means testing the scenarios which are having more database interaction. Okay, which scenarios? More database interaction. More database interaction. I mean, you are doing lot of insert, update, delete like that. If you are doing, that is actually called as your volume testing. Duration is actually 1 hour only. Concurrent user is actually your load testing. Concurrent users is actually your load testing users only. But you should find the scenarios. It should have more of database interaction. That is actually important. Okay. Failover test, as I told you, many are not doing in the industry. Actually saying many are not doing, but during the interviews they are asking this question. Okay. Failing a particular node and validating your application load distribution. I mean, what is that meaning? Say like your application is having 4 servers. Your application is having 4 servers. You started the test. Your application is having 4 servers and you started the test. Purposefully you are making one server to go down. Out of the 4 servers, purposefully you are making one server to go down. Okay, purposefully you are making one server to go down. Whether your application is capable enough to distribute the load to the remaining server or it is throwing a failure message, that you are going to validate it in the failover test. In certain organizations, they are calling this as high availability test. High availability test. Okay, so what you are doing, you are purposefully making one node to go down. Okay, and the load is actually distributed to the other servers or what? That you are going to check it using the failover test option. Any question guys still now? Anybody have any question?
Hello. Hi, Sarana.
Yes, Madhukishore.
Yeah, what is the difference between a stress and a scalability test? Because even
complete your question, please.
Yeah, even in stress, like as you mentioned, like we are doing the execution with X number or 2x or 2 times of the component users of the load test, and we are doing. And as for the scalability, you mentioned it's a feature load, right? So what would be the exact difference? I couldn't get that.
Yeah, see, stress testing, the purpose is to check the break point. At what point your system is totally crashing. But scalability doesn't mean that you have to crash the system. You are testing the future load alone. Okay, say I'll throw an example. Say like you are checking for 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 like that. At 900 user, your system is actually crashing.
Okay.
900 user, the system is crashing. That is actually called as your breaking point. Okay, so that is actually your stress testing. That is actually your stress testing. Okay, but here 100 to 100 like that you are not going. 100 is your load testing condition. 300 your scalability condition. You are testing that condition alone. You are certifying your future load can be compatible with the current load or not, current infrastructure or not. That is actually scalability testing.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure, Madhukishan. So that this is how you are doing your different test types case. Okay, different test types. Actually saying during this interview time, people will check by asking variety of question in this section to make sure they wanted to find you are a experienced guy or you are a fake profile or something like that. So which means that if you guys are good enough to understand whatever I explained right now, you can wonderfully explain those concepts. Actually saying this is how you are doing your testing in your real world, and this is the scenarios, and you are going to decide, and you are going to do your execution. Okay, so which means that yeah, so this means that you are going to do your load testing conditions like this. Okay, so maybe those who are interested to proceed with this course journey, guys, okay, please reach out to Kumar sir. This is Kumar sir number 8019952427, 8019952427. This is Kumar sir number. I'm pasting the number in the chat as well. You can take it. Okay, 8019952427. So actually saying this is actually 25 hours of a session. 25 hours of a session. Okay, the same time slot, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock Indian time. Okay, so I hope there are learners who joined today for evaluating us. So please enroll yourself to continue your learning. I mean, a lot of things will be discussed during these sessions, so we don't want to miss any important topic. So please enroll yourself for do your continuous learning. From Monday, actual sessions are actually starting. Okay, actual sessions are actually starting from Monday. So maybe the first 2 to 3 sessions we give it for evaluating us. So now we are going to complete that, and from Monday you are going to have your continuous sessions. Regular sessions will be there. So plan yourself. So please enroll yourself and then do the continuous learning. And all these sessions are actually recorded. Okay, all these sessions are actually recorded, and you are going to have a YouTube playlist URL. All these videos you are going to have a lifetime access. Okay, all these videos you are going to have a lifetime access. Okay, lifetime access. So you can watch it any point of time and then ask your question. And all artifacts and supporting documents we are going to share through Google Drive. Okay, that also you are going to get it through the Google Drive. Okay, so please enroll yourself and do the continuous learning. From Monday you are going to have a complete session. So plan yourself, please. Okay, thanks everyone for joining this session and evaluating us. Thanks everyone for giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge and experience with you people. Thanks all. Bye bye.